Welcome to a presentation on neoclassical physics. Neophysics has the most accurate theories of physics. We challenge you to disprove us. If not, we welcome you to join us and profit from the new science. In this presentation, we discuss about theoretically estimating the surface temperature of an airless, oceanless celestial object like the moon. Ideally, moon's temperature should be the textbook case for showing the validity of the radiative equilibrium model used regularly by climatologists and meteorologists studying the Earth system. But we see that the standard Climate 101 method of applying radiative equilibrium whole scale on the celestial object by considering it as a single unit with a single temperature often gives wrong results. With an albedo or reflectivity effect of alpha equals 0.11 for moon, the textbook method gives 270.3 Kelvin for the mean surface temperature of moon. The observed mean surface temperature of moon is about 200 Kelvin. This large discrepancy between theory and observation indicates that the theory is wrong. We need much better energy balance model to estimate planetary temperatures. Even the observed equatorial mean surface temperature of 215.5 Kelvin on moon is much lower than the theoretical mean surface temperature estimate of 270.3 Kelvin using the standard theory. In this presentation, we propose an altered version of the radiative energy balance which produces more realistic temperature profiles and temperature evolution in time. In the new model we propose, we find that as the rotation rate of the celestial object becomes slower, the mean surface temperature falls down. This is a kind of anti-greenhouse effect. Moon completes one rotation in about 28-29 days, and Earth completes one rotation in about 24 hours. The slow rotation rate could be one of the main reasons why moon is much cooler than Earth. This new method implies a radically different way of analyzing and understanding the surface temperature of Earth and helps making the correct estimates of the greenhouse effect. According to the prevalent climate theory, the surface temperature of a celestial object in the solar system devoid of any ocean atmosphere is determined by the following radiative equilibrium equation shown here: pi r square I naught equals 4 pi r square sigma t power 4. You can refer to any standard textbook or lecture to find this formula. This is the standard radiative equilibrium equation, Climate 101 theory. So you can refer to the AL courses channel, some lecture titled 06 Greenhouse Effect Habitability. The link is also mentioned here, the YouTube link. Here, the big R is the radius of the celestial object. It's considered spherical. T is the surface temperature of the object. I naught is the maximum input solar radiation intensity, which is about 1360 watt per meter square, which is valid for both moon and Earth. And sigma is the Stefan-Boltzmann constant, which is equal to 5.67 into 10 power minus 8 watt per meter square per Kelvin power 4. Thus, we get the estimated surface temperature as shown here. T equals I naught by 4 sigma, fourth root of this, fourth root of I naught by 4 sigma. So this standard radiative equilibrium equation is nothing but these two terms. On the right, we see the input term. Basically, this pi r square comes from the cross-sectional area of the sphere. If the solar flux, solar input, solar radiation has intensity some 1360 watt per meter square, so that is every meter per square has 1360 joules received every second. The total energy intercepted will depend on the cross-sectional area of the sphere. That is the total energy intercepted from the sun, solar radiation. So the radiation is intercepted by the cross-section of the sphere. The cross-section is pi r square. So pi r square into I naught. This is the total energy input into the system. and the temperature is assumed to be constant throughout the surface area of the object. The object is spherical, so the total surface area of the object will be 4 pi r square. So the total energy lost will be 4 pi r square into sigma t power 4, which is the Stefan-Boltzmann radiation loss. So these are the two sides of the equation. One is due to intercepting the sunlight, and the other is radiation loss through around the whole 4 pi steradian of the object. From observations of moon, we know that the average equatorial mean temperature itself is 215.5 Kelvin, which is far lower than the theoretically estimated surface mean temperature. For this value, we can refer to the paper, The Global Surface Temperatures of the Moon as Measured by the Diviner Lunar Radiometer Experiment by J.P. Williams and D.A. Page. There is a lot of publication by these two people, Williams and Page, and also B.T. Greenhagen and E. Sefton Nash. So there is a couple of publications based on Diviner Lunar Radiometer Experiment. So those give values, and also the data set is available. So that is, even the hot equator is about 27.83, which is 278.3, which is the theoretically predicted value, 215.5, which is the equatorial mean on moon. So even the equatorial hot equator is about 63 Kelvin lower than the predicted 278.3 Kelvin. So the temperature of moon is pretty much lesser than what the theory predicts. So let us include reflectivity or the albedo effect. Moon reflects back about 11% of the solar radiation. So the albedo is alpha equals 0.11 or 0.11. Incorporating alpha, the radiative equilibrium equation gets modified as shown here. So this is the original equation. When we input alpha, the albedo factor in it, this is what we get. Pi r square I naught into 1 minus alpha. This is the extra term. This is the albedo term. And this term is the same, 4 pi r square sigma t power 4. So for this, you can also again refer to any standard textbook or lecture. And you can refer to this lecture from the University of Chicago channel, Lecture 5, The Greenhouse Effect. So using this new equation with albedo effect, the modified temperature will now be this. This was the older one. Now the new one is I naught into 1 minus alpha divided by 4 sigma, fourth root of this term. So this implies for I naught equals 1360 watt per meter square, we get T is 270.3 Kelvin or about minus 3 degrees centigrade with alpha equals 0.11. So even after including the albedo effect, the mean temperature we estimate is only about minus 3 degrees centigrade. It does not give average temperatures as low as minus 70 degree centigrade observed on moon. This strongly indicates that the radiative equilibrium equation is the wrong way of deriving the average surface temperature of moon. The flaw is that this method assumes a smeared out temperature. That is, it assumes the temperature on the day side of the globe is same as the temperature on the night side. Turns out, in general, this is a bad assumption to make. However, in case of surfaces like water or ocean, which have huge density and specific heat, the day side and the night side temperatures can be more or less the same under special circumstances. Ultimately, we find that the temperature depends on the rotation rate of the object. That is, the mean surface temperature is affected by the diurnal variation of the solar radiation. Suppose the surface is being alternately heated and cooled. We focus on the interaction of radiation with an elemental material unit on the surface of the object. That is, we won't consider the whole object as one unit. We will consider small elemental material units on the surface. The whole surface is split into smaller elemental units. For simplicity, let's consider the case of constant radiation I naught watt per meter square while heating. That is, a constant radiation is coming whenever there is the switch is on. I naught watt per meter square continuous, there is no variation. And there is zero incoming radiation while cooling. So the object is exposed to free space, which is assumed to be at 0 Kelvin. And so the object continuously emits energy due to Stefan-Boltzmann radiation loss. If T is the absolute local temperature of the material unit, then the radiation energy loss from that place is minus sigma T power 4. Let M be the mass of an elemental unit of the object, and C be the specific heat of the surface material. Both M and C are assumed to be constants. Then the change in heat energy of the object or of the elemental unit is related to the heating or cooling as mc del T by del T. Big T is the temperature and small t is the time. Mc del T by del T equals A into I minus sigma T power 4. Where M is the mass, C is the specific heat, del T by del T shows the time rate of change of temperature of this material unit on the object. A is the surface area of the elemental unit. Here M is not the mass of the entire planet or the entire moon. It is an elemental unit interacting with radiation on the surface of the planet or moon. I is the incoming radiation, and sigma T power 4 is the Stefan-Boltzmann radiation loss. So the elemental material unit interacting with radiation is like this thin yellow slice in the figure. There will be a heat transfer between the yellow region and the green material below it. But the yellow-green region will also attain thermal equilibrium, and there will be a level at which the temperature remains constant on the diurnal scale. The dynamic region above this constant temperature level can be thought of as a homogeneous region with some scale height h and a characteristic temperature T. This is for to model or simulate the surface temperature, the skin temperature. We'll consider the top layer as a separate unit, homogeneous unit. So this is the input shortwave, incoming shortwave radiation. This is the output to outgoing long wave radiation. This is the temperature T, and this is the size h of the thin slice. And this is the overall surface in green below. There are no heat transfers along any other surface. It's only on the top surface there is heat transfer. If we assume a cubical or cylindrical shape of the elemental unit, then we get M equals rho AH, where rho is the density of the surface material, h is the scale height of the elemental surface unit. Here I equals I naught. That is, the incoming radiation is equal to some constant I naught for t, small t, time greater than or equal to 0 and less than x by 2. That is, x is the period. So if time is less than half the period, then I naught, the incoming radiation, is constant 1360 watt per meter square. It is like we have switched on some radiation source, constant radiation source, and it's giving 1360 watt per meter square, and it is on for x by 2 hours or minutes or whatever, x by 2, 0 to x by 2. This is the heating phase. And in the next half of the period, between time t greater than or equal to x by 2 and less than x, in the second half of the period, the input radiation is 0. There is no radiation coming. I equals 0, and this is the cooling phase. So this is the kind of simplistic energy forcing we consider initially for analyzing the temperature. So using M equals rho AH in the energy balance equation, we get this. Basically, this was the older equation, energy balance. Now we use M equals rho AH in this part. So this equation becomes rho HC del T by del T equals I minus sigma T power 4. A gets cancelled on both LHS and RHS. A, the surface area of the elemental unit. So now the heating and the cooling phases can be represented as this. Rho Hc del T by del T equals I naught minus sigma T power 4 during the heating phase between time 0 and x by 2. And rho hc del t by del t is minus sigma t power 4. That is the Stefan-Boltzmann law when time is between x by 2 and x. So this is the heating phase and this is the cooling phase. The surface of moon is made of the same silicon dioxide mud and soil as Earth. So let us consider a thin layer of this soil interacting with the incoming solar radiation. The density of this soil is rho equals 1600 kg per meter cube and the specific heat equals C is 730 joule per kg per Kelvin. Let's consider a 0.1 meter or about 10 centimeter thick layer of this soil on moon. Consider an heating cooling cycle with a period x hours or days such that for x by 2 hours there is continuous and constant heating of I naught watt per meter square. And for the next x by 2 hours, the next half of the period, there is continuous cooling. Sorry, this is not the moon case, this is an ideal case. For x by 2 hours, for half the period, the first half of the period, we continuously give it energy, radiation of constant intensity. And for the next half, there is no energy forcing. There is absolutely zero radiation coming. So only Stefan-Boltzmann radiation loss in the next half. For the 0.1 meter thick layer of the soil, rho hc is 1.168 into 10 power 5 watt per meter square. That is using these values 1600, 730 and 0.1 meter. H is 0.1 meter. So using that, rho hc is 1.168 into 10 power 5 watt per meter square. Therefore, the energy balance equation becomes, these are the energy balance equation. We put in values for rho, hc, I naught and sigma here. So this is what we get. This is the heating phase and this is the cooling phase. We can in fact analytically integrate these equations and find the absolute temperature T as a function of small t. But let us numerically calculate T of T, the temperature at time small t, with a time step of 1 minute. We can use any other, but in this analysis we have, in this calculation we have used a time step of 1 minute. So let T of 0 indicate the initial temperature at time t equals 0 minutes, and T of n indicate temperature at time t equals n minutes, or the nth step time. So then the difference equations can be written as shown here. So Tn plus 1 is the n plus 1th minute temperature. Tn is the nth minute temperature. This is the difference between them. Since this equation implicitly assumes SI unit, these are all in SI units. This was in, the time was in units of seconds. So if we are considering 1 minute time step, we have 60 seconds, which is 1 minute. So del T by del T gets replaced by this term, Tn plus 1 minus Tn by 60. So this is the difference equation for heating phase, and this is the difference equation for cooling phase. Both have time step of 1 minute. So the two difference equations can now be simplified as shown here. Consider various scenarios where the period x equals 1 hour or 10 hours or 100 hours and 1000 hours. We get stable periodic solutions when T of 0, that is the initial time temperature, is equal to T of x, that is the temperature at the end of the period. T0 here and Tx here. If these two temperatures are same, then we get stable periodic solutions. The figure shows the stable time evolution of the soil layer temperature reached when subjected to constant heating and cooling with x equals 1000 hours. That is 1000 hour period of heating and cooling. So we see that during the heating phase, the temperature quickly rises from around 72 Kelvin to the maximum limit in about 20 hours. T max corresponding to I naught equals 1360 watt per meter square is 393.54 Kelvin. It is basically given by this. When we take del T by del T, the partial derivative of temperature with respect to time as 0, there is no rate of change of temperature is constant, we get a maximum limit. Tmax is equal to I naught by sigma, fourth root of I naught by sigma. So which turns out to be, if I naught is 1360, it turns out to be 393.54 Kelvin. This is the upper limit. The temperature can't exceed in this scenario. So it stays at this maximum level, 393.54 Kelvin, till 500th hour, when the radiation is switched off. So at 500th hour, we switch off the radiation. In the next 500 hours after switching off, the temperature reduces to about 72 Kelvin due to Stefan Boltzmann radiation loss. So since it reaches 72, then again when the radiation is switched on, it reaches from 72 Kelvin to 393.54 Kelvin. It reaches in 24 hours, and repeat this cycle. When x equals 100 hours, the period is 100 hours, we see that during the heating phase, the temperature rises from around 153 Kelvin to a maximum limit of 393.54 Kelvin in about 20 hours. It stays at that maximum level till 50th hour when the radiation is switched off. In the next 50 hours after switching off, the temperature reduces back to 153 Kelvin from 393.5 Kelvin. We can notice that as the period x, or the duration of heating cooling cycle, increases, the average temperature TAVG decreases, but the temperature range Tmax minus Tmin increases. So here we see for x equals 100 hours, 100 hour period of heating and cooling, we see the T average is 291 Kelvin. If x is increased to 1000 hours, the T average reduces to 248 Kelvin, as we saw in the previous slide. And here, in case of x equals 100, the Tmax minus Tmin, the range of temperature is 240 Kelvin. While in the slower rotation case, or slower case, 1000 hour case, 1000 hour period case, Tmax minus Tmin is 321 Kelvin. So as the heating cooling cycle slows down, or period increases, the average temperature decreases, but the range of temperature increases. When the switching between radiation on and off state is slow, the object keeps cooling towards 0 Kelvin during the cooling phase, and the Tmin can become really low if the duration is long. These figures further illustrate the temperature evolution observed with constant heating and cooling of a soil layer. The top panel shows the stable periodic solution reached for a periodic forcing of 5 hours of I naught watt per meter squares input and 5 hours of 0 watt per meter square input. That is, the total period is 10 hours. For 5 hours we switch on the radiation, for 5 hours we switch it off. Similarly, the bottom panel shows the time evolution of temperature for period x equals half hour, 1 hour. X equals 1 hour, that is half hour switching, half hour on and half an hour of switched off state. Between x equals 1000 hours and x equals 1 hour, the average temperature TAVG rises from 248 Kelvin at 1000 hours to 331 Kelvin when the switching rate is 1 hour. When x equals 1 hour, average is 331 Kelvin, and when x equals 1000 hours, when the period is very long, T average is very low, 248 Kelvin. And also we can notice when the switching is very fast, when x equals 1 hour, the range of temperature is very low, it's only 10.5 Kelvin, whereas in the case of x equals 1000 hour, the range of Tmax minus Tmin is 321 Kelvin. So basically, when this is fast switching, x equals 1 hour, the temperature varies over a very small range. Tmax to Tmin is very low. It's and the variation looks more or less linear, constant rate of variation, because the range is very low and the variation is also slow. Now let's consider a more realistic model compared to the constant heating and cooling cycles. that we used before. In this new forcing, the surface is being heated with a sinusoidal variation in intensity, as it happens with the solar radiation on Earth and Moon. The input intensity term I naught is modified by two sign factors now. One factor corresponds to the diurnal variation of the sunlight that creates day and night. This can also be considered as the longitudinal variation of the source of radiation. That is, the source of radiation is moving longitudinally. And the other factor is due to variation of the insolation angle due to latitude. Here the source of radiation is considered to be located on the equatorial plane, constant, so there is no variation of latitude of the source of light. It's only the latitude only depends on the particular location of the place on the moon or earth or somewhere. So this is the latitudinal variation, this is the diurnal variation. So this is what the new heating equation becomes, including the latitudinal and the longitudinal variation. This is how I naught gets modified. And the cooling phase remains unaltered. Just simple Stefan-Boltzmann radiation loss. So for moon, we take a period of x equals 28 days or 40,320 minutes, 40,320 minutes, and I naught is 1360 watt per meter square. We can calculate the local temperature at a given latitude at a particular time as T of phi T. That is the temperature as a function of latitude phi and time T, using the above equations. Solving the equation numerically, we get the values presented in the next two figures. So this figure shows the time evolution of the local surface temperature T of phi of T at different latitude phi with respect to time. So this is calculated considering the layer of soil to be on moon. That is, it is subjected to a 28 Earth day diurnal sunlight cycle. The heating starts on day 0 here. It varies sinusoidally, reaching the peak radiation on day 7. Then the incoming radiation reduces to 0 by day 14 sinusoidally. From day 14 to day 28, the input radiation remains 0. Only radiation loss keeps continuing, and the peak temperature at the equator seems to coincide with the radiation peak. At higher latitudes, the temperature peak has a small lag with respect to the radiation peak. The T-mean variation across the latitudes is very low. That is, T-mean here shown in this last column remains more or less around 80 Kelvin for a large range of latitudes 0 to 85. Above about 88, 89 degrees, it rapidly falls to 0 in our calculations. Whereas Tmax and T average show a wide range of variation between the equator 0 north and 85 north. In this, the top panel shows the maximum temperature Tmax of phi at each latitude phi. If we consider that the layer of soil is on moon subjected to 28-day diurnal cycle, sunlight cycle, this is what we will find as the average temperature at each latitude, time average temperature. The bottom panel shows the time averaged temperature at each latitude. The top panel shows the maximum temperature at each latitude, and the bottom panel shows the average temperature at each latitude. We shall not focus on the minimum temperature Tmin in this presentation, hence it is not shown in this figure. Tmax, the maximum temperature at each latitude, is related to the latitude angle phi, as Tmax phi is equal to Tmax of 0 into cos to the power of 1 by 4. That is cosine of latitude, the fourth root of cosine of latitude. Tmax is nearly equal to Tmax 0, that is the temperature at the equator, into fourth root of cosine of the latitude. and T average follows this relation. So T average is nearly equal to T average 0, that is the temperature. T average 0 is the temperature at the equator, 0, phi, when phi equals 0. So T average is temperature at the average temperature at the equator multiplied by fifth root of cos of the latitude. So at any latitude, if we know the temperature at the equator, we can find out the temperature at any latitude using this fifth power of cosine of the latitude. If you want to find the average temperature, if you want to find the maximum temperature, we can find out the fourth root of the cosine of the latitude. The Tmax at the equator is about 392.3 Kelvin in the data, as reported by the Diviner Lunar Radiometer Experiment, DLRE. So at equator, the data shows 392.3 Kelvin, whereas we get 393.52 Kelvin. The temperature minimum at equator is about 94.3 Kelvin in the data, and we get 81.3 Kelvin. The T average at the equator is 215.5 Kelvin, and we get in our model in the soil layer, 0.1 meter soil layer, we get 221 Kelvin. At 85 north, the Tmax at 85 degree is about 185 Kelvin in the data, and we get 213 Kelvin, quite high. And Tmin at 85 degree is 60 degrees in the data, 60 Kelvin in the data, and we get 79 Kelvin. And the T average at 85 degree is about 120 Kelvin, and we get 138 Kelvin. So except for underestimating the T mean at lower latitudes, that is here data is 94, but we have got only 81.3 Kelvin. So we have underestimated here. So except for this underestimation of T mean at lower latitudes, overall we have overestimated the temperature. The Tmax, T average in all the places is more or less overestimated. Our formula, our calculation has overestimated the temperatures. Perhaps we need to include the albedo effect, and perhaps also we may need to increase the size of H, the scale height, in our equations. Overall, the shapes and values look close to the observations. The surface average can be calculated by averaging the TAVG phi, this is the latitude wise average temperature, over the whole spherical surface area. The elemental surface area running around the circle at any latitude phi, that is, consider the circle around latitude phi, a very small elemental circle. The area of that elemental circle is given by d of a, the elemental area, is 2 pi r square cos phi d phi. So using this, we can find the surface averaged temperature using this procedure. So we get T of A. T of A is the total is the mean surface average temperature. This is the integral of all T average into dA, area wise integral of temperature, and this is the total area of the hemisphere, 2 pi r square. We have considered only the one hemisphere, the northern hemisphere, say. So this is the area of the hemisphere, semicircular hemisphere, 2 pi r square, and this is the integral of temperature into area over the whole surface. So we get TA overall as 0.95 into T average at the equator. So if T average 0 is whatever the temperature at the equator, multiplying it by 0.95, we get the overall average temperature of the planet, of the moon, or of the object. We just need to multiply the equatorial temperature with 0.95. Therefore, the surface area average temperature of the object or the moon, the surface area average temperature, is T of A equals 221 into 0.95. 221 is the equatorial mean temperature. T average at the equator is 221 into 0.95 is about 210 Kelvin. which is only about 10 Kelvin higher than the estimated average surface temperature of moon, which is about 200 Kelvin. So we are pretty close. When we include the albedo effect, alpha, or the reflectivity effect, the heating phase equation gets modified as shown below. So this was the equation used earlier without albedo, but with both the diurnal and the latitudinal variation. Now we include the albedo effect with I naught. This is the incoming radiation. So with albedo, this equation gets transformed as this. There is a extra factor of 1 minus alpha. So this is the new heating phase. The cooling phase equation remains as before, just the Stefan-Boltzmann radiation loss. So with a constant albedo, alpha equals 0.11, we get that at the equator, the T average at the equator drops from 221 Kelvin to 215, 216 Kelvin. Not much, but there is a definite drop. And the maximum temperature at the equator drops by about 10 Kelvin, as shown here, 393.5 to 382 Kelvin. And whereas there is not much change in the T mean, because T mean is determined by this long Stefan-Boltzmann radiation loss, the long duration, and over this long duration, the temperature T mean variation is not much. It's more or less 81 Kelvin. And 85 north, the T average only drops by about 3 Kelvin with this given albedo effect is just 3 Kelvin. And the T max drops from 213 Kelvin without albedo to 207 Kelvin with albedo. There's about 6 Kelvin drop at 85 north of the T max. And again, the T min, there is not much variation. It remains more or less constant at 79 Kelvin. So overall, we see there is a little drop in the temperature due to this extra albedo effect of 0.11. So at the equator, there is about 5-6 Kelvin drop in temperature, the average temperature. So the average temperature in the polar regions greater than 85 degree from the data is stated to be about 104 Kelvin. Our calculated average above 85 degree is about 120 Kelvin. This large discrepancy at poles may be due to enhanced albedo effect near the poles, or it could also be due to variations in the thermal parameters like the conductivity, specific heat, etc. And we also note that the scale height used here, h, is a function of the thermal conductivity. So our calculations are broadly consistent with the observations by the Clementine long-wave infrared sensor and the Diviner lunar radiometer experiment, DLRE. So this figure shows the time averaged surface temperature T5, T average 5, as a function of the latitude phi. In black line, the black line is calculated for this 0.1 centimeter thick soil layer without any albedo effect on moon with periodic switching of x equals 28 days. So the black line is what we calculate without the albedo effect for moon. The red line is calculated for the same soil layer but with an albedo of 0.11, alpha equals 0.11. So this is without, black line is without albedo for moon, the soil layer on the moon, and the red line is with albedo for the same soil layer on moon. The blue line is the DLRE data processed by UCLA, but we have taken the analyzed data from this website called phzoe.com, phzoe.com. The green line is the DLRE data processed by another university, WTSL, but we have taken the data, the analyzed data from phzoe.com. So we can see broadly the shapes and the values are pretty close. So for the case of albedo alpha equals 0.11, we get the average surface temperature as T of A is 0.95 into equatorial average temperature, which is 215.86. 0.95 into 215.86 gives 205 Kelvin. So initially without albedo we calculated this value as 210 Kelvin. Now with albedo it has reduced by 5 Kelvin, so it's around 205 Kelvin now, the estimated surface area averaged temperature of moon. The observed area average surface temperature of moon is about 200 Kelvin, which is overestimated as 270.3 Kelvin by the traditional radiative equilibrium model or concept as discussed earlier. So the traditional textbook model predicts 270.3 Kelvin, which is about 70 Kelvin higher than the actual observed fact. But our new theory, based on the elemental radiative balance, closely matches the observed temperature. We predict 205 Kelvin in place of 200 Kelvin, just 5 Kelvin off. But the traditional textbook is 70 Kelvin off. So our new theory based estimate closely matches the observed temperature at different latitudes of moon. The computed time evolution also matches with the observations. So our heating phase equation shown here with appropriate albedo factors, albedo values and the thermal parameters may perfectly explain the observed surface temperature of moon. The portion of heat getting advected or transported horizontally or transported vertically does not seem to be an important factor for the first order approximations of the surface temperature. We will include these advection factors in future for higher order estimations, the conductivity equation and all, but for the first order estimation it does not seem to be important. The one layer equilibrium model described here is quite accurate. Suppose let us now consider the same soil layer with height h equals 0.1 meter and density rho equals 1600 kg per meter cube and specific heat C equals 730 watt per meter square. This is joule per kg per Kelvin on an airless, oceanless celestial object, but with a diurnal variation period of x equals 24 hours rather than x equals 28 days. That is, so we are keeping this, we are assuming that this soil layer is kept on Earth, and instead of being forced with a 28-day radiation period, switching period, we are now considering x equals 24 hours. That is the period. So the sunlight will be on for 12 hours and the sunlight will be off for 12 hours now. So x equals 28 days is appropriate for moon, and the period x equals 24 hours is appropriate for understanding the thermodynamics on Earth. The same soil layer subjected to much faster switching now on Earth, subjected to much faster switching of radiation produces different temporal and spatial thermal variations. This figure here shows the variation of local temperature T of phi t at each latitude and time, T as a function of phi the latitude and T time. So T of phi t is shown here considering the layer of soil to be on Earth with zero albedo and subjected to x equals 24 hours. The solar radiation varying sinusoidally is switched on at sunrise 6 hours. The local peak in radiation, in input radiation is at noon 12 hours, and the solar radiation is switched off at 18 hours. In response, the peak temperature at the equator is about 362 Kelvin, which is less than the theoretical max of 393.52 Kelvin seen on moon's equator. For I naught equals 1360 watt per meter. So T naught 393.52 is the max expected with this I naught, but on Earth with this soil layer on Earth we get only 362 Kelvin. The minimum temperature at the equator due to this soil layer heating cooling is 221.5 Kelvin, which is much higher than the moon case. The moon case was 81.3 Kelvin minimum temperature. So because of the shorter cooling time in case of Earth, the soil layer on Earth, in the Earth case, it does not cool much because it has shorter cooling duration. The average temperature is much higher at 284 Kelvin compared to the 221 Kelvin on Moon in the absence of albedo. Another interesting feature we find in the Earth case is the prominent lag between the peak temperature and peak radiation. The peak radiation is at 12 hours, while the maximum temperature is observed at 15 hours at the equator with a lag of 3 hours. The minimum temperature is observed around 7 hours. That is, the temperature keeps reducing for a while even after the sunrise at 6 hours. Both these features are observed in the actual surface temperature variation of the Earth. So this is the figure showing a typical diurnal temperature variation on Earth in this red and blue lines. The yellow line shows the variation in radiation. So the peak radiation, in this place locally is at 12 hours. We see at noon there is a peak in radiation, this yellow line. While we observe the maximum temperature is at about 15 hours. 3 hours there is a gap. And also we see this early morning minima. Here it's right around the sunrise. We see a lag here also in our calculation. So from the top panel, we see that the T average at each latitude phi is related to the latitude angle phi as this. T average phi is T average 0, that is the average temperature at the equator, is the 4.4th root of cos. In the previous case, we saw that this was the 5th root of the cosine of the latitude. In this case, we see it as the 4.4th root. So in case of Earth, if we are simulating, if we are using the equations, same equations by changing the periodicity, x equals 24 hours now, the relationship between the latitudinal variation of the temperature is now different. It goes as this. So T average is T average 0, the equatorial average temperature, and multiplied by 4.4th root of the cosine of the latitude. So using this expression, if we average out if we want to find the total surface area average temperature for the soil layer on Earth, we find TA is 0.94 TAVG 0, 0.94 times the average equatorial average temperature, 0.94 into T average at equator. So the T average at equator we find for this soil layer on Earth is 284 Kelvin. So this is the equatorial average, 284 into 0.94 is 267 Kelvin. This is the case without albedo. On Moon without albedo, we estimated the same T of A, or T subscript A as 210 Kelvin without albedo. So there is the Moon is much cooler than this Earth case. If we keep the same layer of soil on Moon and on Earth, the Moon layer will be much cooler than the layer on Earth. Coincidentally, this 267 Kelvin is close to the temperature estimate 278 Kelvin done using the standard radiative equilibrium equation without albedo. But as we noticed in case of Moon, with large variation in the diurnal period X, the mean temperatures observed can be very different from the standard theoretical estimate. It can be very different from 278 Kelvin. Actually, it is 200 Kelvin on Moon. This lowering of average temperature due to slower rotation rate, or lowering of the average temperature due to longer period of the heating cooling cycle is like the anti-greenhouse effect. That is, Moon is much cooler just because its rotational rate is slower, so that the diurnal variation of sunlight in that has a much longer period. It has a 28-day period, 29-day period, whereas on Earth it is just 24 hours, the diurnal cycle. So the moon is much cooler because its diurnal cycle period is much longer. The heating cooling cycle is much longer or slower. We may have to include this process for more realistic estimates of the planetary surface temperatures. This anti-greenhouse effect, the rotation rate. At the equator on Earth, in the Earth case, the Earth case is much warmer compared to the Moon case. It is warmer by about 60 Kelvin. So we attribute this to the anti-greenhouse effect, or the slower rotation of the Moon. The equatorial temperature is 60 Kelvin lower on the Moon, or the overall surface temperature of the Moon is much lower than this case discussed for Earth. That is, if we have kept the same layer of soil on Earth and we keep the same layer of soil on Moon, this is the temperature difference we see, and this lower temperature of Moon is purely because the rotation rate is slower. So in case of the actual Earth, the temperature variation will be dominated by water layer interacting with the solar radiation, because 2/3 of the Earth's surface is covered by oceans. Besides, the surface of the Earth is covered by a layer of atmosphere. So ideally, for estimating the surface temperature of Earth, we already need a coupling between the soil layer, the water layer, and the atmosphere layers. We cannot really estimate the average temperatures, the surface average temperature of Earth, more simplistically, like we did using the standard climate science theory in the earlier part of the slides. Therefore, the real contribution of the greenhouse gases can be calculated only after developing such coupled models. We shall present the coupled model estimates in future presentations. In this presentation, we showed a much better model based on the elemental radiative energy balance that predicts the average surface temperature of Moon as around 200 Kelvin, consistent with the observations. Using this model, we also get more realistic estimates of the temperature maxima, minima, and also of the time evolution of the temperature at each latitude of Moon. So this theory, based on the elemental radiative energy balance, is much better than the radiative equilibrium model used by climate science theories. So we end with that. Thank you. If you want to understand the concepts of physics in the clearest way, regardless of the concerns about scoring high marks in exams, please visit neophysics.com. Thank you.